You have a malignant tumor. And those are words we dread hearing. I want to define malignancy for you. A tumor of potentially unlimited growth that expands locally into adjoining tissue by invasion and systematically by metastasizing into other areas of the body. We know if that malignant tumor is left alone, it will spread out into the body and eventually cause physical death. That's the tough part. But then I've been in situations before where I've actually been in the room where a doctor or someone who was on the medical staff walked in and said, "Hey, we got some good news. We found the tumor. It's contained in one area of the body. It has not spread anywhere else. We got good news, and we're going to get after this thing." And that's where I want you to go with me this morning. I want you to remember that last thing, that idea of something not spreading on into the body and causing physical death. And I want us to apply that to the spiritual aspect of our lives. Because we're going to look at this lesson this morning, overcoming social sin. And I know the first few lessons have been kind of heavy, and the next couple are going to be along the lines of where we can go to do something about our sin, who we can look to, how we can be empowered, the cure for our sin, those things like that. But today we're going to talk about a lesson entitled The Spread of Sin. And we're going to be in James chapter 1. And there's a very important passage there. And that's where I was going to go earlier, because I don't remember what I was going to say. We're going to start a new thing today, and we'll start this every Sunday. If you didn't bring a Bible with you, if you need one, just raise your hand. Cameron's going to come around, just raise it high. And because we want everybody to get in the Word. We want to make sure we do this. And everybody brings a Bible, or you get it on your phone. And we went down to Grace Midtown the other night, man, and Kristen took a picture, and I wish we would have posted it. But we stood up, and they kind of do like a circle type deal. And they stood up and read the Word and read a whole chapter. And you got 20-year-old, I felt like I was a grandpa in there because everybody, I think the average age was about 16. But everybody in there is like this, standing and reading the Word. We need to get in the Word. So I want to encourage you every Sunday, bring your Word with you. If not, we'll have them here. And just put it on the cart when you leave. But let's get in the Word and see what God has to say to us. In verse 13 of James 1, when tempted, no one should say, "God is tempting me." For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. I want us to consider three things together that all tie together. The first one is unchecked sin. And let's look at this for just a moment, because the whole idea here is if we refuse to do a spiritual inventory of our sins and submit them over to the Spirit at that desired level, what's going to end up happening to us is what this passage says. That sin is going to spread and spread and spread, and eventually what's going to happen is it's going to lead to spiritual death for us. So the whole idea of what we're talking about this morning is identifying sin right here at its root, at the desired level, and begin to do what we can to take care of it there. Look at James 1:15 again. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. So you got a pattern here. It says what? Well, I have this desire, and then sin happens, which is action, and then death, which is the consequence. So you have desire, sin, death. That's the whole idea of what we read in James chapter 1. So the best thing we can do is what? Hit it at the desire level. So this is what I want to ask you as we get started this morning. How well do you manage your desires? Now, that could be different things. I don't know where you're going with this in your mind. I know what hits me. But I want you to think on this for just a moment. How well do you manage your desires? These things that start out just really small. They're not good. What do you do when that thing comes into your mind, into your heart? Because this is where self-control comes in. You think about your private thoughts sometimes, the ongoing conversations that you have with yourself. Anybody else do that? I do. I guess, I remember growing up, we'd see someone and be like, "Man, that guy talks to himself." Well, I talk to myself all the time. I just don't do it out loud. Maybe I do sometimes, and maybe if you ever see me doing it, just be like, "Hey, man, you probably need to keep that back in." But the whole idea of a conversation I'm having with myself. And where does that go? Because sometimes we'll be having a conversation with ourselves in our heads and we say, hey, you know what? I want you to think on this for just a moment about where that guy has put you, what he's done to you, how he's treated you. And that's right here in my head, it's in my heart, it's going on. How do I control that? Because wherever I take that next step in this conversation is going to matter, because it's either going to build this into something that it's not, or it's going to take it down a notch. I'm going to take it in the right direction. I can't believe that guy did that to me. I can't believe he said that to me. I can't believe he treats me that way. If I ever have an opportunity, I'm going to... Or do we stop right there? Self-control. It did hurt me that he said that. But I got to start doing something different. I got to figure out a way to bless him, to reach out to him, to show him that I love him. Because maybe, I don't know, maybe it's me. Maybe I have some things that I'm doing that are making him treat me that way. How about someone that you work with, or someone that you know, maybe an old friend, someone that you see at a reunion, whatever it might be, and you're attracted to that person. They're a good-looking person. Where do you go with it? You know, do you start to think, man, I tell you what, or do you stop it there and say, man, I can't do that. I made vows. I'm a follower of Jesus. I made vows to my spouse. I got to go in the other direction. How about when someone does you wrong? Do you move on immediately? I'm friends with a guy named Josh Ross on Facebook, and he's a minister up in Memphis. And I wrote this down about a month or so ago, and I said, man, I'm going to remember this for me. But I thought it'd be a good time to share it. This is what he said. When criticism, negativity, or moments happen that have the potential to rob me of joy, I have a 15-second window to direct my heart to God's. And if I'm disciplined to do that, I can usually go throughout the day with an attitude rooted in hope, joy, and enthusiasm. On the other hand, if I allow the 15-second window to end without directing my mind and heart to God's, I can allow that moment to negatively transform the next 8 hours of my day. Can you relate to that? I mean, how many of us have spent an entire day or a week just brooding over something that we were confronted with? We've allowed a situation to steal our joy, and not only that, but to make us kind of look at what Satan is wanting us to focus on instead of focusing on things that God brings into our lives. So I'm asking you, as we end this point, what are you doing? Are you turning your sin over to God, or are you fueling the desire of sin? Second thing I want us to look at is infecting others. Now, our sin affects others, sure, but it also infects others. And I want us to notice that. Look at 14 and 15 again, James chapter 1. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. All right, when you're enticed to do something, you do what? You commit an action. And then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. When we refuse to stop sin in its infancy, and we act on our desires, our sin action will affect the lives of others. Now let's go back to that pattern for just a moment. Desire, and then we commit sin, which is what? Action, and then there's a death, which is a consequence. And how many of us have suffered a death to a relationship? Why? Because we go back to a desire that we had, we didn't do anything about it, we committed an action, and we now have a dead relationship with someone because of the fact that we didn't do anything to that sin when it originally came into our lives. I want us to think about some ways that our sin infects the lives of others. You think about those who we sin against. You think about terrible things that you see in the paper sometimes, just this week. I mean, we were on Broad Street the other night, and we looked down, there's like 5 police cars down there, and I'm like, what's going on, man? This is Rome, Georgia. And by the time we got down there, that had everything, kind of put into order. But before we got there, there was a man laying on the street who'd been shot. And there were two people who were shot, and one of them ended up dying. So your sin action, your anger, not getting it here in the desire stage, but fueling that, and then moving on to the point where there's an individual somewhere running around in our city or somewhere else who his action led to murder. That's how it affects other people, those we sin against. Well, let's think about this in a couple other ways. Those who are affected by our sin. You know, you do something kind of crazy, you get arrested, and then your family does what? They have to go through this embarrassment. They have to go through people asking questions and kind of looking at them in a different way. So your sin affects other people in that sense. But finally, I want us to think about how our sin infects the lives of our children. Because we're passing on our sin a lot of times. I've told some of you this many times. My grandfather was an alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic. And when it got to us, I just told my brother, I said, hey man, it's time to stop this cycle. You know? And it may not be alcohol for you, but it's something else. Something that's there that you pass on to someone else. What am I passing on to my kids right now that I do not need to pass on? Jackie Kennedy said this: if you bungle raising your children, I don't think whatever else you do matters very much. And I agree with that for me, 100%. What is my greatest fear? My greatest fear is messing up the lives of my children by how I live in front of them. And I don't know about you, but that's something that I have to think about a lot. I mean, just in the last couple months, I've just been going through some things that I haven't handled very well. And Chris and I have talked a lot about this, and I've really tried hard to communicate with the kids and tell them stuff and say, hey, you know, I didn't handle this very well. Because I don't want them to look to me and learn how to live an ungrateful life. I don't want them to look to me and learn how to just complain all the time, or how to be negative, or how to not respond in a situation in the way that I should. And that's the whole idea. Whatever it is that you struggle with, understand how that's infecting your children. And infection is what? Something that you get in your body. You receive that, and a lot of infections are what? Contagious. Hey man, I got some kind of rash on my hand. How you doing? I'm like, no, I'm out, bro. You know, I'll pray for you over here. You know, there's no way I'm getting in on that. I don't want an infection, but how many times are we passing along a spiritual infection that's not one or two, but 10 generations deep? That's what we've always done. That's how we've always been. Because we won't look back and see where this starts. Well, how do we infect others? Well, we do it when we talk about others, when we complain, because we're passing on information that's negative, that's bad, that makes an impression on the children who are around us, the people who are around us, who have absolutely nothing to do with the situation. What about our attitudes? We infect people with attitudes. What about prejudice? I mean, we're in 2017, and man, we still have prejudice around us. You know, it's not so much black and white now as it is Hispanics, you know, people from other areas of the world. And the thing is, we are all the offspring of God. If you believe the Bible story, it goes back to Adam and Eve. Those were the two original ones. And we come all the way here. When I did my DNA results just a few months ago, I got a Christmas present, and I went through and did this, and I was like, I don't remember what it was, like 62%, I believe. No, 52% Great Britain from that area. So I told Kristen, I've got at some point to acquire a British accent. I want to start using terms that are British, like I've got to go to the loo, you know, something like that. Someone's hurt, let's call the Bobby. But one thing that was really interesting to me about the DNA was that I was 0.5% Middle Eastern. And I thought two things there. First of all, if you believe the biblical story, I believe that's probably the case for all of us because we all go back to that area. But the thing that's also kind of cool about it is, how can I be prejudiced against someone who is what I am? We're all in this thing together. Charles Barkley, the great philosopher, said this. When I think back on it, we didn't know anything about race early on. Kids don't know that. And that's the thing about racism and prejudice that is sick. We had to be taught that at some point. And that's the truth. What else can we do to infect others? How about apathy? When we see people who are poor, and we fail to reach out to them. When we see people who do not have a voice, and we fail to do what we can to reach out to them and provide a voice for them, we are passing that along to our children. We're infecting them to say, hey, I want you to make sure that you pass along this terrible family trait to your kids in the same way my dad and mom passed it along to me. See, our sinful actions are based in a place where they have no business residing. Look at the passage of Scripture from Luke chapter 6, verse 45. It says, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. But then, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Sin comes from what's right here. You really want to see how someone is? Really want to hear what they really think on the inside? Then stick around them for a little while. Here's some of the opinions. Here's some of the attitudes that they express. This is why we should do everything we can to turn over our sins to God when they're in that desire stage. To make sure that we don't let them get into our hearts and take root there. So I want to ask you this. When's the last time you took a good, honest assessment of what's in your heart? God, help me to see what I need to see. Let me talk to some of my friends. Let me talk to some of the people that I work around every day. What is it that you see in me that I don't see in myself? See, this is a painful situation. I told you, I read this book that I'm kind of preaching this series from called Acceptable Sins. And I started going through it and saying, hey, you know what? I got to start looking at this in my own life. So I've been asking Kristen, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And she's told me some things I didn't really want to hear. But stuff I needed to hear. But I'm asking us, do we really want to be transformed into the image of Jesus? Because if we do, we're going to dig deep down in there. We're going to find the things that are there that shouldn't be there. And we're going to pull them out and say, God, let me hand this over to you and help me to become who you want me to be. Unchecked sin infects others. But the biggest thing with allowing sin to grow from a desire to action to spiritual death is what that does to God. Final thing here I want us to look at is grieving God. If you go back and you look at James 1 verse 13, it says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. So how many of us get in a situation and we say, hey, why is God doing this to me? Or why is God allowing this to come into my life? And many see God in that sense. As he's up there on the throne and he's just trying to do his thing to frustrate us and aggravate us. And he's angry with us. And every time we stumble, he's like, hey, I'm about to torch you, man. I'm going to light you up. That's the image that so many people have of God. And that's a really sad situation. Because this is the deal. I believe this with all my heart. I believe God is a God of wrath. But I believe in the picture of God that we see in Jesus Christ. We see love above everything else. We see compassion. We see second chance. I mean, his story was what? I want you to come back to me. I want to give you a second chance. Over and over and over, we don't see an angry God who's waiting for us to fall. We don't see an angry God who's tricking us and throwing things out there in front of us. We see a God who longs to be in a relationship with us, who loves us. And see, when we sin, He doesn't want to punish us. That's not His great joy. The fact is, when we sin, we grieve Him. Have you ever thought about that? I've sat in courtrooms with parents whose children were there because they made some poor decisions, and then all of a sudden the sentence is handed down and this person's got to go. 90 days, 2 years. And you see this look on the faces of those parents. This visible pain. The tears rolling down their face. And to me, that's as close as I've ever gotten to understanding God and how He feels when I'm disobedient. Because even at the moment that I'm in shackles, I'm before the judge, and there's not a lot of hope left. I turn around and who's there? My parents, my mom and dad are still there saying, hey, I don't care where you go, I don't care how many choices you make that walk away from who we are and what we've taught you and what we want you to do with your life. We are always going to be there. And when you're sentenced and they put you back in the handcuffs and you walk away and you nod at us, it's going to fill our hearts with grief. God is for us. He wants us. When we sin, He isn't happy. He is hurt. And one of the reasons sin spreads is because we don't give thought to how our actions grieve God. I saw this definition this week. Someone had once said that sin is cosmic treason. A transgression means rebellion against authority. So when we choose to sin, we choose to rebel against God's authority. I mean, you've seen it before, right? I remember with my kids, both of them. You know, when they got to be 3 or 4, we're teaching them, hey, you know, this is not what you should do. And, you know, they do something, hey, Sam, stop that, bud. Say, don't do that again. You know? And they do it again. And what happens to you? I don't know about you, but for me, there's a flame that starts in my feet. And it shoots out my ears because I'm like, you do not do what I told you to not do. Right after I told you not to do it. That's the way I look at it a lot of times. Because I get so frustrated. But I don't know how many times I put myself in the same situation. To see Joey Haynes looking over at God and saying, watch me do it. Think of why our sins grieve God. It's because of what they cost Him. I mean, He gave the very best thing that He had, and we do what? The Bible says this, and it's very clear in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 30. It says, do not bring sorrow to God's Holy Spirit by the way you live. Remember, He has identified you as His own. Hey, you're mine, and you're going to do things the way I want you to do them. And when we don't, what happens? We grieve Him. And because we don't see our sin as a serious thing a lot of times, what it does is it leads us to abusing grace. I mean, how many of us have used the grace card? I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but hey, I'm saved. And God's grace is going to cover me. I mean, God's grace has got me So I'll take a little mulligan here. That's not the idea at all. Romans 6:1-2. Well then, should we keep on sinning so that God can show us more and more of His wonderful grace? Of course not. Since we have died to sin, how can we continue to live in it? The whole idea here, folks, that we were learning from that passage is that when we have decided to come to Jesus and we've made that decision and we're following Him, we have taken on the responsibility of turning our backs on the world, on rebellion, on acting as the world acts. And we say, hey, you know what? I'm going in a different direction. I'm going to choose to live in the way that God has taught me to live. I'm not living like the world anymore. I'm turning my back on the world. I do not do all that I can to surround myself with situations where I'm going to have opportunities to sin. I do everything I can to avoid acting as I once acted. God is so serious about sin that He nailed it to a cross. Isaiah 53 verse 6 says, all of us like sheep have strayed away. We have left God's path to follow our own, yet the Lord laid on Him the sins of all of us. So if God says, here's what I think about sin, I'm going to nail it to a cross, how can you and I as His children tolerate sin? So I want to encourage you to do what you can to stop sin in its tracks, to hit it at the desire level, to take that 15-second window and make the decision to do what you can to let God deal with the situation. You know, sometimes we're heading down a path, and the only way we can do something about it is to do something extreme. I remember when my dad quit drinking, it was just like, hey, you know, I'm drinking. And then he was like, hey, I'm going to lose everything at some point if I don't do something. And you know what he did? This is difficult. That's one reason I have a ton of admiration for him. He quit. I mean, like, yesterday he was drinking. Tomorrow it was over. And guess what he didn't do after that? He didn't go over to his buddies and have one. He didn't buy just a little six-pack and say, I'm just going to drink one a day when I get home from... No. He said, this is an issue. It's not what I want to do. It's not who I want to be. It's making me into someone I don't want to be. And it's boom, it was over. And he hadn't touched it in 30 years. And if he did right now, you know what? It would tempt him to go back. So see what I'm saying to us is, some of us have to do something extreme to get to where we need to be. And that's my question to you this morning. Are you willing to do something extreme to be able to get over your sin issue? Not just say, hey, yeah, it was a good lesson, I appreciate it, I'm going to go home and read James 1. No. I'm saying, are you willing to do something extreme? If you're struggling with alcohol, you're going to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give this up. But not only that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at how this has affected people. And I'm going to start going to AA meetings. And I'm going to start meeting with people. And I'm going to start doing what I can to surround myself with people who will help me get over this. We've had a terrible attitude. I've affected a lot of people. I've infected a lot of people over time. Are you willing to sit down with your family, those who are close to you, and say, hey, I need some feedback. I know this is not going to be easy. It's going to be hurtful. I know this will be a 6-week or a 2-month or a 2-year period of time that I have to go through my life and go back and apologize to people. And I'm going to have to get in the Word in a greater way. And I need to get a small group. And I need to get people around me who are going to help me grow in the fruits of the Spirit to become a better person. Extreme. More responsibility, something to do, but I'm asking us, is it what we want out of life? Do we want to cruise through life, just being the average Christian, the average Joe, going to church? Or do we want to be people who are followers of Jesus, laying down our lives every day, picking up a cross, allowing Him to be seen, and how we live in love? We started this period of time with a time surrounding two of our family members and loving them and praying over them. We'd love to spend the next hour or two doing the same thing over and over, if that's what you need. It's not just you who needs it, because I'm going to need it. You may need it this Sunday, I may need it next Sunday, but that's what family's all about. Coming together, loving each other, helping each other carry our burdens, and helping each other by pointing to Jesus Christ. If we can help you in any way whatsoever, please let us know.